Welcome to the Mischief. I'm Valen, and this is Immersive Engineering, the chemical thrower. So those that are unfamiliar with the chemical thrower, it is basically a flamethrower-like device. As you can see here, this one actually has a really cool shader on it where it has like this kind of flame effect on the side that animates. It's made very simply. Oh, pig just populated. It's made very simply by combining heavy engineering block, a pressurized air tank, a couple of wooden grips, bucket, and fluid pipe in a crafting table, and you'll get the chemical thrower. Now, in this case, in an engineer's workbench, you can, let me click on there. You can upgrade it with up to 2 different things. And in this case, there are actually only 2 things that you can upgrade it with. And that is a large tank, which will double the internal size of it, of its fuel capacity, and a focused nozzle, which is something you may or may not want. For instance, let me grab a couple of these here, and I will grab a standard amount of fluid, and in this case, this one is going to shoot kind of in a wide area, and this one here is going to shoot in a narrow area. And it shoots a bit further. So you see here, it's kind of centralized. This one here kind of shoots all over the place. You can see it's just kind of spreading, and of course it does, as you can see, some damage to these these dummies that I have currently set up here. Also, and that's just some of the items. It's not necessarily going to set things on fire in the world, though it will set entities on fire depending on the ingredients that you add into it. Now, with that in mind, let's put this back in here. I'm just going to use this one for testing purposes to show you what's going on with a large tank. Now, as I showed you before, you can add on the focused nozzle, which will give it a little bit more range and a narrower spread. Plus, of course, you can add in whatever shader you like. In this case, I've got the the kindled shader, which is really cool, especially for a flamethrower effect. But you can see here, it's got that animated look on it, which is really slick. But I've got the chemical thrower here. And I'm going to basically create, let's see here, if you look on the right, I should say, there is, before I even get into any of these liquids, if you want to use this, there are multiple ways of using it. One is just by using it default, which is you take the liquid that is inside of it and you spray it on the ground. Another way that you can use it is by shift right-clicking, and you will therefore ignite it. If you're looking in the bottom right corner, shift-click, you can see that it is ignited right now, and now it is off. And it's not going to use any fuel with this. It just means that it's going to try and ignite the liquid that is currently stored inside this. It is actually a little bit of a liquid container in a way, but it doesn't really transfer too well. It's more for taking liquid than putting liquid. But now that it's ignited, I can therefore do that. You can see the difference there in how this functions. Obviously, shooting fire underwater is just going to cause a bunch of bubbles. It's not actually going to light on fire. But, I can shoot the regular ethanol out. And you can see this has the extended tank and how fast it can actually use up the amount of fluid inside. And there we go. It is currently empty. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit, just so that you can see what I've got going on. I'm going to toss a frame up on the side. And we're going to put the chemical thrower currently in this picture frame, and then I'm going to change my game mode here, and therefore now I can just click and duplicate empty versions of this, and I can shift click as I need to ignite it and test out multiples of these fluids. So here is where the chemical thrower is really, really handy, and that is with liquids. Mostly liquids. I mean, there may be some gases you could find benefits for, but I have a handful of mods currently installed. Obviously, Ender.io is currently storing these with these fluid tanks, but I mean, you can also fill a chemical thrower by putting it into something like one of these here. You've got your in and out. This is the squeezer. You can just toss it up here, and you see it just got filled with that. That's what those in and out slots are for most of the fluid creations that there are out there, like your diesel fuel, your ethanol, your plant oil, and therefore you can spray it out really quick and easy. In this case, I'm actually going to take out, now that I think about it, I might reduce the amount of fuel that can be used on this. But, something like plant oil isn't really going to ignite because it's just like vegetable oil in a way, kind of. I mean, it's just squeezed plants. But if you are to, let's just get rid of that one and grab a fresh one that's empty, and I could choose another liquid. And in this case, if I access an Ender IO tank, because I'm using these if only because they're also very compact and easy to use for demonstration purposes of this tool, the chemical thrower. If you have it installed, obviously you could also access this. But if I right click on here, I can actually drop this in, and it will therefore fill it up with whatever this is, which in this case is molten vibrant alloy, which you're like, okay, well, what's this going to do? Obviously, I'm going to try and ignite it, and we can see if it actually causes fire. It does not, but it's molten alloy, so it might do damage. Yes, it does. It does a half-hearted damage every hit that it does. It doesn't affect water, it won't put out fire, and it doesn't do anything to lava. But, you know, you can see here, it's currently doing some damage to these entities in the world. Some of them might have some resistances to this, but it's considered, I think, more a fire type damage, but it is not putting you on fire. So therefore, you know, if you take damage while in lava, you take two different kinds of damage. One is the lava itself, the other is the burning damage that you get because you're on fire. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to take you through a brief rundown of a bunch of examples of different fluids, gases, things like that that I have currently stored in these tanks so that I can quickly replenish the contents of one of these, respawn them out, and show you some of the different effects that you can have. Now this isn't going to be all inclusive. I mean, this is just a handful of mods, so there is quite a lot of bucketable liquids as it is. But let's start off, shall we? First and foremost, I have some molten solarium, and I have a feeling this is going to be very similar to the previous one that I did here. Yeah, it just does some damage to entities and no effect to any of those other things. Does no damage to these guys, in fact, which is kind of funny. I wonder if it actually will kill the pigs. No, it doesn't. It just seems to give them a damaging look, but their hearts don't seem to have gone down. So sometimes you might get a little misled with some of this stuff. Then we've got here, what is this? Oh, the vibrant alloy, which of course we already saw. It does do slow damage over time to these guys. You just kind of shoot them, no effect on any of the fire, water, a little bit of half-hearted damage each time it hits. Then we've got seared stone, which, you know, from Tinker's Construct, does a little bit of damage to entities. As you can see there, nothing affecting on those. And very similar to the solarium, it's going to do damage to entities. Now, let's get into something a little bit different. Now, let me get rid of this one here and get a fresh one, and then I'm going to show you water. I mean, this is a little bit more unique. Now, of course, I could try and light it, but it's not going to do anything. It does have water. It doesn't affect the lava. As you can see there, it is currently burning on the edges of it. It's just something that lava does to most of those effects. It's not going to do anything to an entity. Doesn't do any kind of damage to these guys here. They're showing 0.5. That's just the last damage that was done. But if I use it on some of the flame here, you can see it actually just put it out. So this can be used as a fire extinguisher if you use something like water. Now, there may be other fluids that could have a similar effect or the same. And therefore this might benefit you if you have a forest fire. You suddenly just grab your chemical thrower and start shooting a bunch out there. But you can also use it for things like lava, which of course not going to do much to water or fire or other lava, but to other creatures it's going to do quite a bit of damage. Let me just trigger another pig here. You can see he just dies pretty quick, and it does a lot more damage, double in fact, from what we were doing before. Where it's doing 1 heart of damage to those guys, and doing a pretty decent amount in an area. So if you've got a bunch of mobs together, you can shoot them all at once with a spread. If you're going dungeon hunting, it can make a lot of difference. But there are some weird things that aren't going to have any effect, like liquid XP. That's just going to spray on the ground and do no damage. But if I've got something like liquid sunshine, you've got some really weird effects. So first, I mean, water, nothing. Fire, nothing. There's nothing there. Let's bring a pig out here and let's spray him. And oh, hello. What is this? Let's shoot up and get myself covered with this. You glow. That's right, you get a glowing effect from this. It is very interesting that you can do this. I mean, you can see these are just dummies. It just tells you the effect that they get, but it makes the entities visible through walls and stuff. So that's a really cool effect. It doesn't do any damage, but you know, you can spray things to see where they're going for temporary amounts of time at least. It can be very entertaining. Now you've got something like Hooch. Hooch is kind of weird. I mean, you try and use it. It doesn't light on fire, though it's, you know, Hooch, like an alcohol effect. Doesn't do any damage, doesn't hurt anything. It's basically as good as water, but it won't actually put fires out. So it's kind of weird like that. Then you've got similar ones, because you've got some stuff from, let's say, Ender IO that actually makes sense here. Let's see, rocket fuel. Now that should burn. Therefore, since I've got my igniter on, you can see it shoots out a flame, a gout of flame, and it, you know, doesn't do anything with water or putting out fires. Pigs, in fact, go down quickly, and it does a ton of damage to these guys. 3.5 hearts of damage each time that it hits them. So you can see it was doing some serious DPS with this to a group of mobs. And of course that's a mixture type, one of which that is not too easily made, but it can be to great effect on a chemical thrower. Now if I get something else here, like glow gas. This here is actually a gas, and you notice here it actually took from the bottom when I filled this up, and it actually made a little gap down there. It's going to fly up. So, you know, you've got some that are more gaseous than they are liquids, and they may not even have an effect on any of these creatures, but sometimes they will. I mean, in this case, it sets them actually on fire for a short time. So let's see here. We spray it on this guy here. He becomes... it does a lot of damage, actually. 3.5 hearts. Wow. But it's going to spray up instead of down. It doesn't really affect anything in water, though I just sprayed myself with it, so you got to be careful. Nothing much in lava. And it's not going to put any of the fires out either. There's very few things that actually will put fire out. Now here is your bread and butter of using the chemical thrower. Creosote oil. You get a lot of this from Immersive Engineering. If you're doing a lot of processing of stuff, you'll probably have a lot of wasted creosote oil that you don't even need in order to progress, because you're making a lot of steel for your weapons. Well, it does, you know, your flame effect, which it does really well, and of course, you know, it will kill mobs and create yourself some pork chops. Does a lot of damage, which it's a lot easier to produce than your you know, something like jet fuel or something, and it does tons of DPS in an area, which once again I still think that the only upgrade that a chemical thrower really needs, in my opinion, is going to be a bigger tank because the spread is really what's going to bring you to wanting to use it. Now, if you have something like, let's see, liquefied ender pearls, there might be other things too, you know, like Enderium or some other stuff in other mods here, but I currently only have a few. Now, this one here, you see it does a decent amount of damage, better than some of the stuff I've shown so far. No effect there, no effect there or there, and it may give a secondary effect. So let's hit this guy here. So you can see this guy's 2, this guy's 1.75, because he currently has other effects on him. So sometimes their different effects they have may be modified by the type of damage that you're doing, something to keep in mind. And of course there's going to be your kind of joke things like milk. Milk doesn't do anything. You can see that the previous numbers on these guys doesn't do anything there. Won't put out fires, won't touch lava, and it won't do anything to livestock or entities per se. And in fact, you know, nothing on yourself. There are no effects on there. So you've got some fluids that just aren't really going to benefit you at all. Milk is probably the perfect example. All right, now we've got something a little bit more interesting. There are status effects that you can add in. Nutrient distillation is a really good example of this. If I spread it on something here, you can see he now has nausea 2 for 4 seconds. It doesn't affect anything in water or fire, lava, but entities, it will give them nausea. In fact, let's spray a little bit on myself, get up, and there you go, nausea 2. I had that for just a few seconds, and it's interesting. There are many others. If you have icy effects with some liquids, you might be able to gain a slowing effect. There's a lot of different things that you can feasibly switch out on this. You could even have multiple chemical throwers on your hotbar to switch things out if you really wanted to. and try and get your best combination. Maybe set some things alight and give them status effects. Now in this case, I just grabbed what was it, molten redstone, which does a decent amount of damage. Doesn't affect anything out here. But it does some serious damage over time. So you're getting a much higher DPS account on something like molten redstone. But those guys. Let me grab some more of this. You can see here I'm doing a lot less, 1.5. Why is that? Well, that's because these guys currently have flammable and nausea and glowing. So therefore, the flammable 3 effect that they have gained from me spraying a bunch of these other fluids on them has actually enhanced the amount of damage it's going to take. So therefore, that's sometimes beneficial for switching between 2 different chemical throwers, though I don't know why you'd want to. Putting them in opposite hands isn't actually going to do much for you. You can still use it, but it's, and then therefore you could still, I guess, use use your drill as a melee weapon. You could use your drill as a melee weapon, and then you could spray with your chemical thrower in the other hand. It's pretty interesting. It doesn't really look that well, and I don't think it's intended to function like that, but you feasibly could. Now, as far as a shield, let's grab a shield here. You can therefore you effectively use a shield, but when you try and you either block and hit with the shield, but then you lose all functionality of the chemical thrower. And it's the same thing if you switch hands as well, where you only get the use of the one hand due to the shield. I think it's a bug with the mining drill and the chemical thrower, but hey, you know what? Considering how immersive engineering is more immersive than it is equivalent to other mods in Minecraft, I think that is a very acceptable bug, allowing you to be an extremely powerful person, allowing you to kind of put on there your different status effects, as well as hit them with different things. I think I got to switch that around. I think you're going to have your drill in that one hand in order to do it. And of course, you can still drill things with it at the same time. It's a lot of fun. All right, and now we've got something a little bit more interesting. We've got, let's see, some blue slime. Let's do purple slime. Now, this here might give a special effect to these guys. You see no damage is happening, but they now have sticky. Sticky means that they're basically going to be kind of slowed in a way. You see it doesn't have any effect on those things. It doesn't do any damage, but they gain this this debuff of sticky. In fact, I just totally messed up trying to get myself sticky there. Let me fly up into it, and there we go. Sticky 3, which means that I'm kind of paralyzed in a way. It was really effective. So shooting liquefied slime is a really good method as well, if you wanted to switch things out. It's just, there's a ton of status effects. These are kind of like a witchery brews type thing, where you can pick a specific ingredient and spray it at them without knowing necessarily what effect it may have. So you best watch out if you see someone with a chemical thrower. You never know if they're actually going to be friend or foe. So there you go, folks. That pretty much covers it for the chemical thrower. I hope you enjoyed this little bit by bit. It's always a lot of fun to mess around with some of the tools, weapons, and items in Immersive Engineering. I hope you enjoyed this. If so, please give a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, spread the mischief to others if you think they'll enjoy this content too. Until next time, folks, I'll see ya.